You got Mac and Mac here with Young Birds 365. McMullen and McDonald. We are joined by the well-clad Paul Domowitch. How many of those shirts you got?
Oh, endless amounts.
Endless? Like me and Zubaz back in the 90s had like 18 pair. You got 18 of those fancy shirts?
There you go. Well, maybe not quite 18.
Okay. Well, appreciate
I was going to go over on 18.
Over 18?
He was going to give me the over-under. I was going to go. I'm going to go over for Andy. He's got over 18. I guarantee you that.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Andy has to pay for him. Damo does. And here's how you answer the over-under. Do you have a walk-in closet?
My wife does. I do not.
You do not. So he's got to be under 18 because he's got to have a little space for pants. If he doesn't have a walk-in closet, that would be obnoxious to have more than 18 of those shirts. All right, off on a tangent. Damo, here's the best stat that I saw in your stat pack I wrote down this morning after reading it thoroughly. The Eagles gave up five plays of 25 yards or more to the Cowboys last week. The week before, I didn't look it up, but I can remember off the top of my head at least three for the 49ers, 25 yards plus. That's 25 yards or more plays in the last 2 weeks. Isn't the whole philosophy of the Fangio defense, don't give up the chunk plays? Let them throw it underneath. We'll come up with tackle. You might beat us by 1,000 paper cuts, but damn it, you're not getting the ball down the field against us. What the hell is wrong with the Eagles defense?
Well, for much of the season, they were leading the league in most 15 yards or more completions given up, which was bad enough, but they've expanded that now, and they're giving, as you mentioned, they're giving up the really deep ones. And most of them aren't over their heads. I mean, these are guys that are beating
they can't tackle.
Catch, right? So that's kind of. The tackling's been poor. It's probably the biggest difference. They just aren't tackling very well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, and you go back to Debo, obviously, getting the ball near the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden that turns into an explosive play. But either way, they're not playing well. I think there's no question about that. So you got to sort of look around for the reasons. I talk about regression to the mean a lot, Damo. 70 sacks last season. I said, didn't matter. You can have all five starters back, JG back. They weren't getting 70 sacks again. There was going to be a certain regression to the mean. On the other hand, there should be a move back to the mean at times. And that's how I feel with this third down defense. I say it every week. Well, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. It's got to get better. And it's not getting better. It's amazing to me how consistently bad this team has been on third downs. And I don't know who to blame at this point. I really don't. I mean, I need your help. Who's to blame?
Yeah, I mean, over the last 6 games, teams have their opponent's success rate is like over 50%. The typical reasoning with third downs, that a coach tells his players is we got to keep them out of third and manageable, and third and short. Get them in third and longs, and we got it made. We just tee off on it.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting teams in third and long, and it ain't working because A, they're not getting there, and B, even when the ball gets out quickly, they're getting big chunk plays on third and long. So, it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of the pass rush. It's a combination of the coverage. It's not good, guys. And I don't know if it's going to get any better.
Damo, I'm sure you caught the quote from Josh Sweat after the game down in Dallas, which I thought was very intriguing. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, that we're not used to not helping each other, that he was kind of pointing a finger at everybody, not necessarily relieving himself, trying to dodge it, but let's look at everybody here because we're not used to not helping each other. Does that mean somebody is off the reservation in their lanes or they're not keeping their responsibilities? He was blaming the defensive line, seemed like, as a whole, and maybe I shouldn't even limit it to the defensive line, the whole defense, for their inability to get sacks. What did you make of Josh Sweat's quote after the game?
Yeah, I think he was talking about the whole line, Jody. If you watch the tape, everybody's been guilty of not being disciplined in their pass rush and leaving holes for people like Dak to extend plays, get out and run for a first down on 3rd and long. You know, I mean, I've seen everybody from Brandon Graham to the tackles to, I mean, a lot of times you're seeing Reddick get sucked in and then they get outside. Same thing with the tackles inside. So I mean, I think it's a group effort here. They just need to be more disciplined with their rush, and so far they haven't been. I mean, you know, I think part of it's when you're not getting the sack, you kind of get a little bit desperate. You ignore discipline and just want to get to the quarterback, and quarterbacks are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, discipline on the pass rush has been a big thing since the days of Jim Schwartz here. They've tried to focus on that, and they've generally been very, very good at it. But yeah, at times when you see guys freelance, and it could be could turn in a negative direction pretty quickly. When you walk in the NovaCare Complex auditorium, Damo, they have the big banner up about turnovers, both ball security and takeaways. And nobody's looking at it, evidently, because they don't do a good job in that. And that's one of the big differences between this year's team and last year's team. And even last year, they started out so hot. It started to, as we said, regress back to the mean. This year, they're negative territory, obviously. They have just 7 takeaways in the last 10 games. We know the fumbles, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Nick, did you bring the new ball security drill in yesterday, trying to get the big stick with the boxing glove in there as guys go to the ground? So they're trying some different things, but is it just it's not just a randomness. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys have been consistently good, especially in the defensive backfield with Al Harris, our old buddy. They take the football away. The Eagles, when CJ was here, took the football away. So it's just a matter of not having that kind of playmaker.
Well, I mean, last week I think was a classic way to attack this team. I mean, Dallas was very physical. I mean, they basically came into the game and said, we're just going to punch you in the mouth and be physical with you and intimidate you. And it worked. I mean, there were times Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown looked like they were shell-shocked. Not just
I did see that with Devontae, because he got hit hard early.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they took every opportunity to nail these guys, and it seemed to pay off, not just with the fumbles, but just with affecting their performance in the game.
Now, if that's the case, when they're sitting down watching the film afterwards, you notice it live during the game on Sunday. They show it to them on Monday, Tuesday. Does that motivate the Bradburys and the Slays of the world? I know Slay is dealing with some physical issues, and I thought he actually played pretty well on Sunday. Bradbury hasn't had a really good game in, 2 months. But does that like other teams' DBs can hit people? You need to think about hitting somebody too.
Bradbury, I mean, he's looked like Asante Samuel this season. As far as I'm going to go in the bleachers when they come my way, he hasn't really wanted to be physical. I don't think. I'm so.
You're going to get Asante contacting you, Tom.
I mean, I love Asante, but he wasn't. Tackling wasn't his thing. He was open about that, and Bradbury doesn't seem to. You're seeing a lot of teams go on the perimeter against them with bubbles and other things, and the corners are slow to react, mainly because they're playing so far back because they're getting beat in coverage, and that's hurting them. So I don't think that's going to be the solution here to see Slay and Bradbury get physical.
Yeah, I don't get the hate with Slay. I really don't. I think he's having a solid season. He got targeted 4 times against the Cowboys, gave up nothing, no receptions, no yards, obviously. I think the passer rating was 39.6, which is the worst it can be. He did have the 1 penalty, but that was a bad call. That was a ticky-tack call. So the guy out there with the trash cans probably should have kept it to one, because I think Slay is one of the few players playing pretty well, and he's playing through an injury. But yeah, he's not, and he got into it with our own Seth Joyner. He's not. Damo, I don't know how many good tackling cornerbacks you can come up with over the past 30 years. I come up with one, Antoine Winfield Sr.
I'll give you one from Sunday. Gilmore. He was
He's
laying the wood out there. He's a good tackler. He's on the other team.
There are levels. I think Gilmore's certainly a better tackler, but I wouldn't call him a great tackler. I'm being legitimate. Can you come up with a good? I come up with Antoine Winfield Sr. That's it.
I look at tackling cornerbacks the same way I look at blocking tight ends.
Yeah.
It's there's only a very few Kittles and Goddards in the league, but what you're looking for is somebody that's going to get in the way.
Exactly.
Going to just get stand there.
I made the same comp with tight ends. It's like lose slowly. With cornerbacks, it's getting away. That's what it is.
Get in the way until the safeties come and finish the tackle, or the linebackers. So that's
would tackling. Put these in order for me. Tackling corners, run blocking tight ends, pass blocking running backs. A level of importance on those three things.
Well, I mean, pass blocking running backs is vitally important, since you lose your quarterback and you're screwed. So I guess I'd put that at the top of the heap.
You just broke Jody's heart. Yeah. But let's pick up. Yeah. By far the most important.
Yeah. I mean, that's why,
and Dom wasn't here for the conversation, so I got to repeat it. John told me last week that's why Kenny Gainwell had a game where he played more snaps than
I said that's part of the reason the Eagles think Kenny Gainwell should be the hurry up attitude, that they think he's a better pass protector. Now, part of the reason he got more snaps because of a blowout as well. That's part of the reason. So when they're always in a high passing mode, Kenny's going to be on the field until they pull the plug on Kenny, which you can argue.
Except that Kenny played 39 snaps and he pass blocked on one of them. So if that's part of the reason why he's played, you'd actually expect them to use him to do that. If that's a strength oh my God, we got to get him on the field because he's such a good pass blocker. And then they use him on one.
You're in a blowout game. You're completely leaving out the context of the game. If you're the team blowing someone out, you don't have to blow.
When did the Eagles give up in the game against the 49ers? When it became a blowout, you're calling it a blowout. What was the score? What was the time?
It wasn't a blowout.
I'm just asking, John, for my own knowledge as to when they gave up and said it's a blowout.
Three-score game. They didn't give up. I'm not saying they gave up. I'm saying the game.
You're saying they gave up if they said that they've acknowledged that it's a blowout, and they are.
I didn't say they acknowledged. I said
I'm reading into that part of the decision was to protect the Swift. You're thinking because it was a blowout that they had to keep Gainwell in, that they could.
They didn't have to do anything. I didn't say when they're playing hurry up. And when it's a three-score game, more likely than not, they're going to have Kenny in there unless they're giving him a breather. Now, you can argue that's the wrong decision, and you can make a good argument because I don't think Kenny has played very well this season. But that's their belief. Their belief he's the better hurry up, 2-minute, high leverage. We've been talking about it since training camp. That's what they believe. Now, there's a number of things that factor into that. His ability to pass protect is one of them, but it's just one of them. He's the best pass protector they have. And by the way, that's like the tallest short guy at the circus. Right. I mean, he's not good at it either, but he's just the best they have.
Damo, do you agree that he is the best back to have in there when they're in there? High leverage, speed, offense, call it whatever you want, come from well behind, going to throw the football. Is he the best running back on this team to do that?
Yes.
Better than Swift?
Yes.
You're with the Eagles on that.
We've done this before. We've done this dance before, Jody. I like Kenny Gainwell a lot more than you do.
Yeah, apparently.
And I don't think they're using them right this year. They're not using either one of them right in the passing game. They're catching more passes, but for nothing. And that's, that I blame on Brian Johnson, and I also blame it on Jalen Hurts, who seems to everything in the world has to be out of options before he'll throw to those guys on checkdowns.
That's true.
So, they're averaging, Kenny Gainwell averaged 7.3 yards per catch last year. Swift averaged 8.1 with Detroit last year. Neither one of them's averaging 6 this year on yards per catch. That's not good. That's not right. It needs to be corrected because these guys, you can't do what they did last week. 3 guys targeted. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
I asked Nick about that. He's just completely saying it's not a problem. That's got to be a problem. Now, we all know, he said it 150 times. He said it again. The passing offense runs through AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert. We all know that, but guess what? Everywhere else it runs through a certain group of players, and they manage to get other people involved, and 8, 9 players get targets. You go through a 60-minute football game and 3 players get targets. I don't know who to blame again. Who to blame? Is it Brian? Is it Jalen? Is it Nick? Who's to blame?
I'm going to make it a group effort there because, if it were just Jalen, the coaches would be hammering at him. You got to spread the ball around. I covered Andy for so many years. I covered Doug. All of them, emphasize you got to spread the ball around. You throw to 3 guys. Well, guess what? The defense is going to figure that out real quick. And they're going to focus on those 3 guys, regardless of how good they are, and slough off the other guys. And that's what's happening. That's why these guys aren't open nearly as much as they were early in the season, because it's pretty obvious where Jalen's looking. If you're the quarterback, if you're the offensive coordinator, you got to force teams to think, I'm going to use my running backs. I'm going to throw to my second tight end. Right now it's very predictable.
It is predictable, and as of right now, we're at least 1 game, and I think they'll spread the ball around more. They have to, just by regression to the mean, it's I like to say. Got to get other guys involved. But will it not be all that outrageous because the Eagles choose to run the football, to go more run heavy this week? I know it's a Philadelphia mantra. Mm-hmm. I don't usually subscribe, but I'm subscribing this week, because this team needs to establish the run again. They need to establish their offensive line, which is supposed to be the strongest offensive line, if not in the league, at least on their team. How about you give them a chance to eat a little bit and you just let them run block? RPOs, I get it. They're not going to go into a traditional run offense. You run it out of the RPOs, and maybe Jalen makes a couple plays with his leg, which also counts as running. Will they go run heavy this week against Seattle, Dama?
Whether they will, I don't know. They need to a little bit more. The numbers clear. Yeah, as I pointed out in my column this week, guys. First half, they're just. That's the root of their problem. The slow starts, having to play from behind. That's not the way they're built. They're built to get the lead like last year, and then let the pass rush tee off on quarterbacks. Their ball control in the last 6 games has just gone right down. They've gone from, I think, 70 offensive snaps in their first 7 games to 60 in their last 6. You run the ball more, that's going to change. I think they need to run the ball. I think what we saw last week, at least early on, one thing we did see, Jalen must be feeling a little better. He seemed to be a little bit more willing to run, and he was effective with it. If he can run, that opens things up for the run game, and maybe they're more willing to do it. But yeah, you can't have your running backs running 7 times in the first half. That does not work.
Before I get to those starts, because that's what you led with this week, since Jody brought up the running game, I'll bring up the other thing that's close to the heart of Philadelphia fans, the blitz. I thought it was interesting, Damo, because they blitzed more than they have this season against San Francisco. They got killed. They blitzed less than they have all the time this season against Dallas, and they got killed.
Not good.
And by the way, I advocated, and I was wrong. I said if I were Sean coming into this Cowboys game, I'd simplify it. I'd play a bunch of cover 2. I'd say, guys are not communicating. You got new guys. Didn't work. Nothing seems to be working. Is it just a personnel issue?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, I think. I agree with you. I think, it's the blitz isn't working. So you might as well, start playing more cover 2, play simple. They did simplify things last week at the behest, I think, of the players who went to Desai. So yeah, I mean, I don't think this is, they don't have their best blitzing linebacker is on IR, Nakobe Dean.
Oh, by the way, I saw Nakobe yesterday. He's on a rollabout and he's still got a walking boot on, so he's not coming. He's not coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, I was kind of, that one surprised me when everybody acted like he'd be right back. I mean, I've never heard of a Lease Frank injury where you made a quick return. I mean, they're generally season enders or quite close to it. So, yeah. So, I mean, getting back to the point, I mean, blitzing has not been effective. I don't see any, I think they're better off coming up with alternatives.
The only way you come back from a Liz Frank quickly is if you hit the ayahuasca hard and go into the darkness. Then you got a shot. But other than that, you have no chance whatsoever. Damo, you could have knocked me over with a feather yesterday when I read Eagles full padded practice, which is something that I've been calling for and saying they just don't do enough. Even within the restrictions that are in place, they don't do enough. So I was pretty pumped up. Tell me, there's a big part of your column was how badly the Eagles are being outscored in the first half. Last year, dominant first half, beat the snot out of people. Second quarter, they scored more points than anybody in the NFL by leaps and bounds. This year, basically the exact opposite. You know how you upgrade your potential to score points in the first half? Win the coin toss and take the ball. Tell me it's got a chance to happen this week, Damo. Nick Sirianni showed us yesterday, if it's not working, we got to do something to try and fix it. Tell me a partial solution to first half doldrum scoring is to take the ball on the kickoff.
I'm not gonna bite there, Jody. They have. I mean, until last week when the Cowboys scored, they had not allowed any points to an opponent on their first possession in like 9 games. So, I mean, the strategy that, to defer and let them have the ball has worked. And then it's just that when they do get the ball, they're not doing much with it right now.
Yeah. So Jody brought it up, plus 121.
Yeah.
First half point differential last season. And you brought this up, and maybe it is. We talked about Sean Desai has to simplify. Maybe it's time for us to simplify. This team is built to play with the lead. And when they don't get the lead, it affects everything. It affects the running game. They can't run it, and people lose their mind. The pass rush, they don't get home. You think about last year, they're always in the lead. They pin their ears back. They get home. They can't pin their ears back this year. They got to play from the lead. They're built to play from the lead. Now, everybody wants to play from the lead, so that is really simplified. But this team specifically, it affects the whole ecosystem. They can't run the ball. They can't pass rush the way they want to. If they have a 14-point lead at halftime, well, they just turn back into the 10-1 Eagles.
6 straight games they've trailed at the half. I mean, last year they trailed at the half 3 times, and they won 2 of those games. Look at their sack total from last year: 70 sacks. 40 of them were in the second half when they didn't have to respect the run at all.
Right.
I mean, they just you want to run on us, they would laugh at teams that would try a run. They were just going after the quarterback. They can't do that this year because they're playing from behind. They're playing close. It makes a world of difference. That last year, when you got the lead, second half is when you pound the ball. You run it. You run it. You eat the clock. None of that works this year because of the circumstances of the game with them playing from behind, starting slow.
All right. We talked earlier about big play Slay, who has held up his end of the bargain. John was wondering why people have gotten on Slay's case. It's simple. Slay fights back, not against the opponent on the field. Any critique, aka Seth Joyner. If you suggest in any way, shape, or form Slay is not the greatest of all time, he's going to take the social media and he's going to fire back. So that's why people have a problem with Slay. They're not actually analyzing his play on the field, which has been damn good. No, they're giving him a hard time because he doesn't like anybody to give him a hard time. Are they going to use any defense where he specifically is covering Metcalf? Because if not, I'm worried, Damo. Bradbury is not playing well. Their other cornerbacks aren't quite up to snuff. You got faith in Bradley Roby, J-Mac? He's taller than the tallest midget in the circus, as you said earlier. I don't have faith in any corner on the Eagles right now to come close to shut down other than Slay. Metcalf is the number one guy you got to stop with Seattle, if you ask me. Will they use the defense where he is on Metcalf more than usual?
I don't think so. I mean, Slay isn't. Problem. Slay's playing okay. He's not playing well enough to convince me he can follow DK Metcalf all over the field. I mean, I granted the options are limited. Bradbury's playing badly, and you got nobody else. But that's not my solution for it. I'm not sure what my solution would be.
Yeah. I do. I feel bad for Sean because I can't offer solutions. But I would say in Seattle, they got other good receivers as well. So. Yeah. It's not like even if you did that and shut down Metcalf, Lockett might kill you. He might be a more well-rounded receiver. In Jigba, the rookie is solid for a rookie at least. They can beat you in a host of different ways. To me, it always comes down with the Eagles. Their front has to be their best corner, and they haven't been.
Yeah,
and they got to get home.
Here's the hope this week. I mean, this isn't a very good team right now, Seattle. They've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 5 out of their last 6. They've scored more than 16 points twice in their last 6 games. Wow. They're horrible on third down, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, they're bad, almost as bad as the Eagles.
So I mean, aside from the fact that this game is on the other coast, which is not an easy thing to do, to go there and play and win. I mean, this is a game they should win.
They should, and we'll see if they do. All right, Damo, since you're not going to be on with us Monday, we're going to hold your feet to the fire. Should they win? Could they win? What is the score going to be? Will they win is the question we have for you.
That extra padded practice is going to make a world of difference.
Yeah.
50 minutes, baby.
Yeah.
Tighten everything up.
I think Jalen's going to have a good game. I think they're going to squeak this one out. I don't think it'll be a lopsided game, but I think they win and kind of, at least for a week, right the ship.
Relatively high scoring or middle, or you don't really think it's going to be a defensive shutdown game like the 3-0 Minnesota Raider game? Maybe that's what you can figure. If the Raiders went from scoreless to 63, all of a sudden it kicks in for the Eagles. All right, so Eagles win over
27-24.
27-24. Thank you for the exact score.
By the way, Tom, I love Brian Flores. Man, I wish he was coordinating here. Man, that guy's throwing everything. He's got no talent, and he's shutting people out.
The Diocese of Philadelphia would put him up for sainthood.
They would love that guy. They would love him.
Oh, by the way, Jake Browning lights up Flores this week for a 30 spot.
He kills young quarterbacks, man. They don't know what's coming.
You watch.
I'm going to say
Jake the Cincinnati does this week too.
My prediction is Cincinnati's going to score, but he's going to have some issues because he throws some wacky crap out. The one kid, and you might remember this, Jody. We had Ben Lieber on, the old linebacker. He works for the Vikings radio broadcast. I'm going to spike the football. I've been spiking the football. I love when I get players right. I told Ben, I love that Josh Metellus kid in Minnesota. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you see. He's played 13 different positions, Damo. 13 different positions. People talk about positionalist players. Brian Flores has created one. He's played 13 different positions, and there's only 11 starters. Figure that out.
If you're creating positions out of whole cloth, yeah, you might be able to hit 13.
Well, if you think about it, because everybody used the variable front, so you got the nose tackle, you play the slot cornerback, so there are more than 11 positions on defense. He's played every single one of them. I thought Malcolm was as close as we got here. He played, I think, 7 or 8. Jim said, it's unbelievable. Yeah,
they should try that with Jordan Davis. I could see him as like a dime safety.
Yeah, give him a shot. Give him a shot. Now, obviously, not playing major reps at nose tackle, but he's played the position. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Jody.
Not a problem. All right, Damo, always a pleasure. Red and black. You got to come up with a different color next week. You got to keep changing. We got to keep moving them. Can't get repetitious on us. Never do with the info. Don't with the shirt either. Thanks, bud.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
That is Paul Domowitch. I shouldn't really say that because he is repetition, but Kenny Gainwell can play. And I'm not quite in agreement with him on that one.
Yeah.
He does keep going down that road. All right.
Nick, I know how Nick could make you happy, Jody. 3 things. Well, there were 4 things. He already accomplished one.
He's got one. He's already checked off.
Got rid of Derek Barnett.
Box.
Got rid of Derek Barnett. More padded practices. Don't play Kenny Gainwell or Quez Watkins.
Yeah. So there's more than one. There's like
there's
Metellus. We can just keep creating them. As a matter of fact, if we got to try and impress somebody. And by the way, do you think it was Nick? Surely it's a combo effort, but one more influence than the other. Nick or Howie, the release of Barnett?
Oh, Howie, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm not giving Nick
but that's any personnel move.
Right.
Yeah. 100% Howie.
Yeah, I don't believe Nick said get him off the team, and Howie said, "Really?" And you had to twist.
No, Nick likes him.
Yeah, I think that was a Howie decision. So I'm not going to give Nick too much credit for Derek Barnett being an ex-Eagle right now. All right, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. Hey, we've got a special guest joining us coming up in just over 20 minutes from now. Anthony Gargano from PHLY, New All City Network here in town. Anthony, of course, was on The Fanatic for all those years, and his show started at 10 o'clock in the morning. So asking him to come on early with us before his show was a little less viable. Well, now that he's not doing the radio at 10 a.m. anymore, I put a request into him yesterday. I said, Jody, I'd love to come out with you and McMullen. So Anthony Gargano from PHLY, New All City Network here in town, is going to join us in about 20 minutes here on Birds 365.